They called her the Kind, but to the children she might as well have been an incarnation of the Daedric prince Vermina. So when Aventus Aurentino sent up a prayer and Grelod fell dead, was it justice? Or was it simply murder? Grelod the Kind's reputation among the children at Honor Hall Orphanage couldn't be much worse. When spoken to, they affirmed the general things we think of when we hear her name. It's made clear that she is willing to hit the children as a form of discipline. She puts them in the punishment room, where they're chained to the wall for a period of time. And perhaps worst of all, she only feeds them 1 meal a day. One of the children, Aventus, decided this was intolerable, so he fled to Windhelm and summoned who he thought was the Dark Brotherhood to kill her. This would be an excellent time to elaborate on how the last Dragonborn is canonically an outright moron, an unmitigated idiot, although he is apparently very handsome, but that's for another time. So Grelod ends up dead, slain in her own orphanage at the hands of an assassin who knew next to nothing about her. Assuming the things the children say are true, that she is every bit as bad as they portray her to be, we have to ask ourselves that even in this hypothetical, does her cruelty justify her execution? This is a world where a man can get stabbed by a talking dog, where Daedric princes hand out murder weapons like pamphlets, and where being an orphan just means you haven't been sacrificed to Molag Bal yet. In that context, feeding the kids once a day and chaining them up might actually qualify as premium childcare. Honestly, Grelod might be the only person in Riften with a stable job and a 5-day work week. That being said, let's take a closer look at the evidence of her character. Keep in mind that the Elder Scrolls universe consistently unfolds through the lens of unreliable narrators. And this is true for things that you hear or read in-game, and in some cases even the things you see, although that shouldn't apply here. First, we see that she discourages the formation of their personalities. We know this because she identifies the child known as Samuel as the leader of the other children. She tells her helper, Constance, who, beloved as she may be, is an enabler, to put an end to that. Hror, the child so eager to be adopted that he roars at you, is said by Grelod to cry at night. Once again, she puts Constance in a difficult position by telling her to make the crying stop, or else she will whip Hror with a belt. Perhaps most famously, she gives a speech to the children letting them know that they are worthless, and they will never be adopted, and then dismisses them, but not before making them say that they love her. This is emotional abuse at its peak form. Grelod is not just a mean old lady. She is an abuser. However, if we want to be as objective as possible, we need to look at any redeeming qualities as well. We see in-game that she gives the children playtime outside in the yard, something she doesn't have to do. We also know that she wants the children to get adopted, as revealed in her private conversations with Constance. Her motivations are not the best, but she does want them to have a family. Grelod also cares about their health, only watering down the milk when supplies are low, and not wishing the children to grow fat. On top of all of this, it's stated that she does give the children town privileges. This can either be seen as benevolent or state-sponsored malpractice, but it seems to be a mostly good thing. With the content of her character laid out as plainly as we can, we're now better equipped to ask the question: was it justice, or was it vengeance? Vengeance ordered by a little boy who is not mature enough mentally to actually understand the ramifications of taking a life. Aventus, as tragic of a figure as he is shown to be just as much of a dimwit as any other child in Skyrim. It's not as though he has some kind of special insight into murder. Let's plainly state what he did. Escape from an orphanage, somehow gathered the necessary components to perform the Black Sacrament, summoned a theoretical assassin, and ordered the murder of an old woman without so much as a hint of regret. And the real crime is he pays you by giving you a dinner plate worth just 100 septims. The entire quest, whether you believe the kill is justified or not, is a stroke of revenge for a young child who doesn't fully understand what he's doing. Think about it this way. Grelod the Kind was an actual person. Someone who, like you, got up every morning, went to work, had things to do, had friends, had dreams, goals, and aspirations, and now she's gone. She woke up that day not knowing that the reincarnation of Shore was going to walk through the door and pile drive her into oblivion a la Undertaker vs. Mankind 1998. She was an actual person living her life, and now she is dead. Permanently. Skyrim is a land where dragons scream the laws of physics into submission, where a court wizard can buy a severed Daedric heart and a pile of vampire dust and no one bats an eye, where the guards are too busy chasing cabbages and clapping you in irons for stealing a spoon to investigate something as trivial as, a demon whispering to a Jarl's children. There are no CPS agents in Tamriel, no state-sponsored orphanage reviews, just cold wind, hard mead, and the occasional werewolf problem. In that kind of world, justice is not a system, it is a sword, and swords are wielded by whoever's strongest. So if Aventus couldn't count on the Jarl of Riften to intervene, which, let's face it, he couldn't, Maven runs that place like Sauron if he was a middle-aged woman with a wine cellar, then the only justice left is the kind you summon through dark rituals. But that raises the real question. Does a broken system justify breaking the moral code? If society fails, does that make vigilantism noble? Or does it just mean we're all living in a beautifully rendered war crime? If this is a question you've never considered, then you're probably perfectly okay with Batman giving permanent brain damage to a dude trying to rob a store to feed his children. But I digress. So, was it justified? No, it was murder, plain and simple. A child made a wish, and the last Dragonborn made it real, without trial, without evidence, without hesitation. Grelod may have been cruel, but cruelty alone does not earn a death sentence from any masked moron who owns a dagger, no matter how Dragonborn they are. Think about Paarthurnax. He burned cities, enslaved men, shouted entire legions into the void. And yet we meet him as a wise old monk, and suddenly the world forgives him. Why? Because he had time to change. Time to speak softly. Time to regret. What if Grelod had that time? If we somehow encountered her in the next installment, and she spoke to us in riddles with a raspy voice, would we still see her as the monster in the orphanage, or would we suddenly paint her as misunderstood? Another relic of Skyrim's broken world who just needed a little more time. We'll never know. Because instead of redemption, she got suplexed harder than Dagoth got punked by the Nerevar. And no matter how much you hate her, that's still murder.